plenty of players who can dish out firepower. So I just want to see if Mousesports can come to that. As looks like we are about to go live with the pistol round.
Indeed, we are, Dust. Just switched over there. So, FaZe, Mousesports, Dust2. And we are going to be kicking right into it with a bit of utility on the side of Mousesports with a Tech 9 in the hands of Nico. Raid boss, of course. Why the hell not? He is an absolute monster in pistols. The kind of guy that used to take deagles and pistols. Wasn't completely unheard of for Nico. And in the meanwhile, it looks like we are going to have a stack towards mid, which could see Rain in all the action in the world. You can hear the pitter-patter of footsteps just to his left-hand side as the aggression is forthcoming. The smoke in his face, though, is going to keep him at bay for now as the charge is coming through onto the B site. Kiyoshima eats a flashbang to the face. Can't see anything as being encircled by terrorist players and finally will bite the dust. And just like that, the B site is open and it's not looking too good for the CTs here, Dust. Retake without any utility, no kits either.
Yeah, it's going to be rather difficult, but Ali does actually get a kill on the Christian in lower B, but it's quickly traded out there by Speedy, so now it's all on the Jacob as Rain has been dispatched of quite rapidly. And so this round looks like it's all but in the books here for Mousesports, unless Jacob can pull off the miracle, but not going to happen. So just a really quick mid to B split there from Mousesports. They had one player in tunnels that was able to keep Kiyoshima's attention at the back of the B site, so really all weight was kind of put on Kiyoshima, right, who was trying to defend the mid push from door, and he couldn't get any help because Rain was stuck behind a smoke and CT spawn. And so Rain has that decision he has to make. Do I push this smoke to try to create a crossfire with Kiyoshima and risk just kind of getting shot as I come through the smoke, or do I wait things out? And unfortunately for him, Mousesports just gained way too much control while that was happening, so they get a pretty clean pistol round.
Yeah, pretty clean after all. We'll see FaZe with 4 deeks, a P250 and a flash, trying to hold off the onslaught. 4 players over on the A side, leaving Kiyoshima by himself with his deeg on B. And Mousesports playing this one slow and steady, maybe waiting for some kind of a push. Of course, it's Dust2. You expect to see a scout in the first buy round. It's going to be in the hands of Oscar. Mousesports, you can see how carefully they're playing this, Dust. They're waiting for a CT to really hang themselves here, just sitting back, playing very much an anti-eco strat. But FaZe,
yeah, I mean,
credit to them,
they're keeping their eyes out for all types of save possibilities, right? Like people pushing, double pushing B tunnels. Nico has his eye on that, right? Making sure they don't push mid or catwalk. That's what you see them doing now, and they're slowly working their way at catwalk at this point. Eventually, they are going to figure out that this is an A-side stack, but I don't know if they're just going to brute force it or if they will actually fall back into mid to B once they actually start detecting. Because Ali's actually staying tucked in at long A, so maybe they won't actually read this as a stack.
Yeah, you can see Kiyoshima's not entirely sure. He's going back and forth. He's flirting with the idea that they're going to be pushing through mid, but of course we can see from our perspective that's not the case, and indeed it won't be. With 33 seconds left, FaZe are likely going to have to try and fend off this B play, this A play, pardon me, and it is coming in right here, right now, as Rain is trying to use the smoke to his advantage. Does get a tasty one tap, but is it going to be enough? Speedy with 2 frags, double headshots. And that's going to leave Alu now coming up with his P250, using the smoke as a bit of coverage. Chris J, though, close range puts him down. And now Kiyoshima and his deeg, all that remains, wants to save this for the next round. It gives them a little bit of firepower to play with. But a very clean take for Mousesports, only losing Nico.
It seemed like every time that Mousesports was trying to set up a play with the players they had stacked on A ramp, someone would get picked off before like a flash could go off or whatever it is they were planning to do. Because it seemed like they wanted to just kind of all peek at once with the flash, just try to overwhelm their opponent pushing into them in like a really small space. But Speedy particularly caught a couple of nice headshots there and kind of disrupted all of that. So going to be, again, a clean round for Mousesports. They go up 2-0 and they haven't really lost a whole heck of a lot in all of this, so that's good. They get to keep on to all these AKs that they purchased. They get to keep all this head armor, so they're making sure that they're building their economy up.
Kishima will save the deagle, so they will have a few upgraded pistols into this round, but not a whole lot else. And these are the kind of rounds where I kind of half expect a team like FaZe to maybe try and do something a little bit out of the ordinary, maybe push together through long, maybe some kind of hyper-aggression, because really you have nothing to lose, and it looks like that's going to be the case. So FaZe can have 4 players long. Kiyoshima maybe opting to hold short for himself or the site and get a bit crazy up in this round. But again, Mousesports, almost a carbon copy of the previous round, just sitting back very deep and waiting for FaZe to make the wrong move.
Yeah, the only difference between this setup and last round is Kiyoshima's now actually pushed off Cat instead of playing B, but they still had that same 4-man stack over towards long A and A ramp. But it looks like Mousesports are going to kind of take the detour around this, not realizing it though, of course, as they have the bomb and a couple other players just sitting at the back of B tunnels. Dennis and Speedy just kind of holding back outside long A. So if they do in fact just clear out tunnels and decide to push into B, then they'll likely avoid everything that FaZe has set up. You can see Nico, he's exploring a little bit here, seeing if he can find an opening. Didn't meantime, he's actually going to go check long A, but a flash, I think from his team, it actually slows him down a bit. He does spot AZ and Pit, but that's going to be it. He still has no clue about any other information.
Yeah, Dennis is making a real nuisance of himself and actually keeping the CTs interested in this potential B play, and they're going to find out very shortly that's not going to be where it comes in. Now AZ's going to be pushing through the long doors. Just USPs, but AZ actually gets the drive-by headshot, so that's an AK-47 into the back pocket of FaZe, and honestly, all things considered, a very low investment into this round. Taking an AK out of it wouldn't be terrible. Kiyoshima's going to be charging in, doesn't have a great deal to lose. He's got a deagle, and if he lands the headshot, then it's going to put even more money in the bank as far as FaZe are concerned. But the bomb plant's down, and the round is almost guaranteed to go the way of the terrorists once again. Jacob may have something to say about that, but Nico spins around, takes him out, and it will be a 3-0. The question now is how many weapons can FaZe take away from Mousesports? And Kiyoshima's on the prowl, but lands the headshot from Oscar, who gets a second as well. It looks like AZ will save the AK, but that's going to be all they get.
Yeah, so at least they bring in one gun, so it saves them a little bit of money on one player. But again, Mousesports doing a great job of building up bank. You can see they didn't have to do a whole lot of rebuying in those first 2 rounds. They didn't take a lot of damage, so you have players like particularly Chris J, who has a lot of money stored up, as well as Speedy, so it's going to help them out in the long run if they run into some trouble early. As you can see, that Mousesports are opening really heavy towards the B tunnels to begin with. 4 players, and now even Oscar joining in a little bit here towards the outside of B, so they definitely have a little bit of a lean toward that side of the map. Basic 2-1-2 setup here from FaZe. Alu playing off the catwalk with the op. You look for an aggressive peek, but doesn't spot anything because Mousesports were pretty slow, and they're getting into lower B tunnels and never even showed themselves middle. So maybe that gives Alu a bit of a read, but not too much actually.
Yeah, so FaZe with the 1 kit and 1 AWP have lost the first frag, and it's going to be Kiyoshima who goes down first. AZ's the next to fall, and Terrace now just charging straight through onto B. It's ripe for the taking, and instantly FaZe in a position where, do they even bother trying for this? No, they're just going to back away and try and save. So Mousesports, 3 very comfortable rounds prior to this is suddenly going to become 4.
Yeah, just big opening there on that B-bomb site. Nico and Oscar, kind of the 2 heavy hitters for this team that you expect to perform, make a big opening there. And as you noted, FaZe just didn't even have a chance because retaking B is so difficult. I would think retaking B on Dust2 was probably the hardest site to retake, or at least one of the most difficult, especially when you're down 2 men to your opponent. So yeah, definitely, they're just going to back off, save these guns because their money is, of course, running low. That's kind of how that pattern works, right? You get 0-3, you can buy in the opening gun, but then you don't have money to follow up. So that means that Mousesports likely onto a 5-0 start in most cases, but since they saved 3 guns, that gives them a fighting chance in this round.
Yeah, that's exactly why they backed off, didn't even bother trying. 5v3, they had no kit. I think one of the FaZe members dropped a kit on B site, but at that point, you're just living on a prayer, really. So, with the 3 save weapons, there's going to be another solid buy. Oscar, he does this so often. Lands the headshot through the door, and AZ...
Oh, damn, in the words of Launders.
Night, indeed. And that's just a brutal start for the CTs. They're already 4-0 down. It's like, okay, boys, we saved 3 guns. Let's get ourselves on the board. Let's get some momentum, and then Oscar takes it away in a heartbeat. Beautiful shot.
Yeah, you gotta love that. I mean, that's the terrorist dream when you can just get an instant 5-on-4 off of a doors cross. I mean, it just makes the whole round so much easier. It opens up so many more options. It forces CTs to scramble a bit more, spread a little bit more thin, or force over rotations. So you can really manipulate how the CTs play from this point forward. And so that gives Mousesports a huge edge in the round, as you do see them just taking up classic positions at catwalk. Nico even checking middle here a little bit, just getting a little bit more intel, trying to figure out where these last CTs are remaining. You don't want to run into some type of crazy trap that maybe the CTs have set up to gamble with. As they do clear out the catwalk, Alu gets forced off that common op spot there on the top of the cat boxes. A little bit of damage is exchanged, but nothing too severe. And so it just really forces him to give up positioning and being able to keep an eye on catwalk.
He drops and gets flashed by his teammate. Brilliant. Although it doesn't really make any difference. Wasn't getting forced down. But yeah, it is a pretty standard spot you see ups go in. I'll take the pop shot, then drop down. It's fairly safe. Unless you don't have mid control, which they did have at the time as Rain is watching the cross. Meanwhile, though, we can see the terrorists now starting to funnel their way through onto A again. And it's just Jacob by himself. The noose is starting to tighten. The trap is sprung. What can he get done here? Nico takes a lot of damage but will not be put down, and we're in familiar territory. It's just on the reverse side of the map. This time it's on A, and then Oscar puts out Rain. And FaZe are going for this, but it's a 2-on-5. And Ali, realizing now his days are numbered, backs away. Mousesports have been dominant thus far.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're going up 5-0, and the thing is, the economy situation for FaZe is still in a rough shape. Yes, they're going to hit max loss bonus, but that means that, you know, even with these guns saved, the highest money they're going to see next round is what, like just a little over 4,000 or something like that. Maybe one player just under 5K. So they're not going to have so much to work with the next round. They have a tough decision to make, whether they want to force or actually take a save on the remaining 3 players just to make sure they can get, you know, better buys in the future. Maybe they want to eventually brandish a double op setup, which is pretty common on this map. It's something we could see Kirishima kind of pick up on that B side to kind of complement Alu. So they have a lot of decisions to make in this, and it looks like they are just going to go ahead and buy up all they can. But that means that they're going to really be strained now, I think.
Yeah. And you know what the terrifying thing here, Dust? 5 rounds, all gone to Mousesports, only 4 frags, collectively for FaZe. Only 4 kills.
That's rough.
It shows how dominant this has been, yeah. They're not even averaging a kill a round.
And it's spread out, so you can't even say one player is particularly having a strong game. At this point, everyone's really struggling.
Exactly. And that's going to have to change because, sure, it's still early days, but this is going to be very rough very quickly if FaZe fail to get on the scoreboard in the next few rounds. Mousesports have already discussed how strong they can be on Dust2, and they're very much a momentum-based team, I'd say. So this is already worrying signs for FaZe. They're going to mix it up a little bit this time. 2-1-2 formation with Alu in mid. On the B side of mid.
That is a new position, right? I mean, putting in an Opper in middle, but he's actually going to get the pick on the Christian right away. So finally you have some fortunes going over to FaZe's side. I think this is one of the first times I've seen them have a man advantage this entire game. How long will it last, though? Alu already tagged through the door by Oscar. Takes him down very low. On the 31 HP, just has to back off, but they still have the man advantage to play with here. Looks like Mousesports are considering trying to take some late long A control, but Nico has actually cleared out middle, so this may change things. Look at him slipping into CT spawn through the smoke. This could be huge.
Big kill though for Jacob. It's going to alleviate some of the pressure on long. Alu, in the meanwhile, looking a bit short, but this is what you're talking about. Slipping into CT. Does get the tag, but not the frag onto Alu, who's down to 5. He got tagged up earlier through the door from the AWP of Oscar. And now the tables have turned. This is the best opportunity we've seen for FaZe, but there comes Nico with the entry. Alu's finally been put down in his place, the bomb being planted. And with just 8 seconds to go, the terrorists have given themselves a little bit more time. The bomb going to be ticking its way towards victory, unless FaZe have something to say about it, and they have no grenades to play with Dust to get back on the site with. This could be rough, but a good chain of events up on the short side leaves Oscar in a 1-on-3. First frag goes his way. He's being encircled. He only has 17 health left. And there we go. Finally, FaZe have got themselves on the scoreboard. But it is so important they keep this momentum going through because they've just reset their round loss bonus.
Really well done. They also pick up a second op as well, so that'll help them out going forward. But yeah, you're right. The threat of their economy being reset is definitely looming over their heads. They need to be careful this round because Mousesports has money for days. So this is a big round for FaZe. Really well played there. You know, getting the early pick with Alu and just playing the man advantage in the retake all the way through, being able to trade their way up the catwalk and recapture that A-bomb site. So they finally have a round on the board, but can they keep it going is going to be the big question now, as we do see Nico taking very fast control of long A, but Alu again getting aggressive on catwalk at the top, but he gets picked off. It's an even trade. That's not good enough. If you're Alu, you need to be able to get that pick and get out of there. So this opens up again a lot of options for Mousesports. You can see it's forcing Jacob to basically play A by himself, and Nico's going to certainly keep the pressure on. So Mousesports, they have a lot of free reign now at this point.
Yeah, 1-for-1 trade often will favour the terrorists regardless of what the scoreline is, but especially considering the economic struggle that FaZe are going to have if a couple more players die here. Especially if they can't get their hands on the AWPs. So, definitely a worrying start, but far from a catastrophe for FaZe. As you mentioned before, Jacob was on A by himself. And now Rain is there with him. Going to be pushing through. Nico's in the pit, and there's the headshot. It's going to give FaZe the player advantage, and Mousesports looking to retaliate up onto the catwalk side, where they could very well meet their demise by the hands of both Rain and Jacob, who have now moved their way back towards the car.
Nice counter, though. That's actually kind of slowing down. It's making him take a lot of damage, in fact, down to 44, but he's still able to get out. Gets the headshot on the Jacob through the smoke. What a play. Now it's back into a 3 versus 3, and all of a sudden, Mousesports have a chance to bring this round right back. Oscar slows that op posted up, catches Rain as well, and so now FaZe are beginning to crumble, and that money reset is on its way, it seems like. Unless AZ and Kirsten come up big, AZ trying to start it off, but Mousesports are just so quick to trade. Every time FaZe seem to get a foothold back in the round, Mousesports shuts the door, and now it's going to be 6-1.
Unless Kirishima can pull off a massive 1v2, but he doesn't look interested. So away he will trek, and therein lays the issue. It looked pretty good for FaZe at one point. He had a 4-on-3 in their favour, the double stack on A long, but again the entries just paying out dividends, and just like that, it's going to be 6-1 now. FaZe trailing hard on Dust2. Again, the scoreboard pretty much paints the picture, although there are now more frags dispersed across the side of the CTs. No one positive K to the ratio. And Oscar 7-1, Speedy 6-3, Nico 6-3. Everyone really chiming in on Mousesports. FaZe, they're back to broke again. They do have the AWP, but they have pretty much nothing to go alongside it.
Yeah, they're going to have to rely on Kirishima a lot here to make something happen. He will be taking his op over towards long A to contest control of that right off the bat. But you see Mousesports aren't going for it right off the gun. They're just kind of playing their normal default. Nico patrolling the B tunnels. Oscar holding middle, of course. We may actually even see a push out through long A. I think Kirishima might be setting something up. He's actually going to be holding the angle with that op, but Jacob and company up close here with pistols, so we could see some type of skirmish here soon. Just depends on if Jacob wants to push out or not. Looks like he is actually pushing into the corner here. Now he can play that shadow spot and actually get the jump on anyone trying to push through long. Maybe he can actually put that pistol to use.
This is where, from Jacob's perspective, he'd love to have some kind of an upgraded pistol here. P250, 5.7. They push through with the USP. It's going to be rough days, you have to feel. Are they going to be throwing grenades in first? He can see the shadow of the player come through, and he prematurely taps his way out of the long doors. They would have heard that's a USP. They know that he's low, and, well, Jacob just chilling out in no man's land. Gets wrecked. Ripping pepperonis. Alu, in the meanwhile, chilling in mid with a USP of his own. And the damage is being inflicted through the doors, and you can see AZ plummeting down to 19 health. FaZe really struggling. This pretty much has been a sign of the rest of the map has been like easy frags being traded for Mousesports in a clear-cut, clean as you like round, not losing a single point of health in that eco bash. FaZe back to the drawing board, but their economy Dust still not great.
No, I mean, that's just the pain of having your economy reset in the middle of the half like that. Is, you know, you go right back to 0, and even after taking a save, you still only have that 1900 coming in the following round. And if you did upgrade any pistols at all, and you've taken a little bit of money away, that just kind of eats away at what you're earning. So yeah, they're at a situation now where they could do some type of force, but it wouldn't be the best, right? I mean, Kirishima's actually already bought a Deagle, so it seems like he's already kind of made his decision on what he's going to do. I would think that everyone else is probably going to do something similar, right? Maybe get some upgraded pistols, maybe a little bit of utility or something, try to make a push somewhere or something like that, but definitely looking to see if they can't make a full buy in the next round. Perhaps finally get that double lot setup back into play might be something they try. I mean, the one round we've seen them have success was actually when they were able to stick Alu in middle and be able to try to work that up and try to get a pick or something like that. And also, there has been a lot of pressure being put by Mousesports on B tunnel. So if you put, you know, Kirishima, for example, at the back of B plat with an op, maybe he can actually pick someone off and start trying to get FaZe some openings. Because right now, you know, no one on that team's really sticking out as having a good game thus far. Meanwhile, you look over at Mousesports, and short of Chris J not being needed so much, everyone seems to be hitting their shots, and just in general, they're out trading their opponents left and right.
It really is hard to pinpoint one aspect that's been going all right for FaZe. They've just been comprehensively outplayed across the board. I mean, you've had Speedy step up pretty big, but Oscar's landed a couple of crazy shots through mid. You know, that flick shot through the doors in particular was nuts. The first rifle round, I believe, that FaZe had. So it's just been a case of Mousesports just imposing their will on the CTs, and FaZe have had no real answers. So that obviously that's why the pauses came in, so they can wrap their heads around what's been going wrong.
I think it really has been mid that has been the focal point that Mousesports keeps winning, right? So you mentioned the one where it was an out through the door, so that's basically one round right there where Mousesports wins a mid battle. That's big. You also had the round where Alu pushed Cat and died early, which was another big mid battle win for Mousesports. And then you had the one where Nico actually pushes mid in the CT spawn to help open up the A bomb site. So that's 3 really key rounds where Mousesports found a big opening at middle and converted it into a round win. And that's almost half their rounds, right? So I think maybe you could point to middle as being kind of the big issue here for FaZe.
Yeah, we saw Alu a couple times try and occupy mid and just get smashed instantly, getting spammed up through the doors. So FaZe, as you mentioned, maybe going to be going for that double AWP play. In doing so, it's going to be very aggressive through short. With Jacob taking point, he could very well meet himself Speedy any second now. The flash on point and Speedy, was that a jumping headshot?
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Just CS things, mate. Get wrecked.
If things couldn't get worse for FaZe, now you're losing battles to jumping AKs. It's a nice one deagle though from Kiyoshima.
Keeping the dream alive in this round at least, and looks like maybe he wants to impose his will a little bit more. Nico peering through. Rain's taking damage on the other side of the map, but let's keep it here and now as Alu is going to get plucked out of the air from Nico. Dennis in the meanwhile chimes in, leaving Kiyoshima and his deagle. What a one tap that is. Pretty beautiful. Just a drop in the ocean, and there's another one. Okay, hold the phone for a second. This is now doable. It's gone from improbable to a possible. But Mousesports still have all the advantages in their favour. They have the player advantage, they have the firepower. Kiyoshima has an AK, but no Kevlar. And he's about to get 2v1. He gets the spray! Kiyoshima's going to clutch the round! 3 1-taps!
Problem, Metis. He was the problem.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, it doesn't get much better than that. 3-1 Deegs and then a 1v2 spray down with the AK on A ramp. You can see Mousesports had the right idea. Let's try to peek them together, try to just force a trade. Maybe he gets one of us, but the other will follow up. But no, Kiyoshima just takes them both for himself, and he aces the round. So he single-handedly has won FaZe half the rounds this game. That's actually a fact.
It's a sad statistic, isn't it? Under different circumstances, that would be amazing.
Nothing really brings down the high of getting an ace quite like that fact, does it?
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. And can that be the moment where this match gets flipped on its head? Could that be the moment? We know that Mousesports do struggle with a couple of emotional players. I still feel that even as gutted as you'll be at that loss of a round, you're still 7-2 up.
Yeah.
You're still in a great position here on the T side of Dust. So just keep yourself in that mindset of, you know, everything's going our way. Nice tag on the cross. So Alu and AZ both drop below half health.
Yeah, but Alu has won the mid battle, and that's big, and he's been able to cross back out in the CT spawn as well. So not only have they gotten a pick, but now they're even in good positions in the 5-on-4. So this makes things increasingly more difficult for Mousesports. Looks like they want to go for long A control, but will they check Jacob? That's going to be the big question. But meanwhile, Alu finds another pick, so he's finally getting the Ott battles won on his behalf. But Mousesports have taken long A control, but they're still a man down. So, I mean, it's actually looking pretty decent here for FaZe, though they do have a couple of players at low HP.
They do. There are a couple of worrying signs here. A couple of alarm bells ringing off, and the smoke is on point. Alu's going to have to hold this one off. No, Kiyoshima's there as well. It's going to leave Oscar now in a clutch of his own. He's not going to be able to add the ace as Kiyoshima did, but can he get the clutch? There's the frag. 15 seconds left, and well, the answer is a resounding no. Doesn't have the time, doesn't have the bomb, and FaZe will take this. AWP will get saved. There's a lot of money in the back pocket of Mousesports anyway, but no point throwing away $4,750, right, of course, plus the Kevlar and the flash. There's $6,200 there to save onto. So FaZe will get a third round, but they're still far from being out of the woods.
Yeah, and it's really been heavily reliant upon big individual plays at this point, right? Kiyoshima just having a really nutty ace on basically an eco round where he just had a deagle to work with and somehow found himself with a winning round. And now it's just Alu coming up with a big play with the op, you know, first taking the mid pick at doors, then finding a new location on Cat, finding a second pick, and then finding a solid third there at the end. So do you wonder, though, if those individual efforts can keep coming? AZ going to try it for himself, pushing B-Tunnel solo, but absolutely ripped apart by Chris J. You see Mousesports always having a good B-Tunnels presence, and FaZe trying to just throw something crazy out there, and it totally doesn't pay off.
Yeah, that's a horrific backfire, you've got to say. And he did it raw, too. There was no flashes, there was no smokes, nothing to deter the terrorists. So that's just as free a frag as you could hope for, gift wrapping his life. to the terrace. They have pulled a kill back. Dennis goes down. But we've been here before. This is familiar territory. Typically, Mousesports will jump on these early trades and convert the round. And Rain's the next player, potentially on the chopping block if he goes through. But double man stack, and now they're going to realise no one's B tunnels. And now this leaves Jacob, who's already low on 39, in a very tough predicament. Can he get any frags? Yes, he can. One up there, going to be popping back into pit again. Speaking of pops, here comes a pop flash. It's going to force Chris J to turn his back on the aggressor. And with the flashbang into pit, that secures the frag. 3 on 2, and still far from over. FaZe is still in this round.
Yeah, they have a quick flank onto Catwalk, and they catch Nico, who wasn't expecting a flank coming that quick. He had already picked off one at middle, not expecting even more numbers to be following up behind. And so now they get into a 2-on-1, actually, because Rain finds Oscar and Alu catching Christe there on the edge of the smoke. So FaZe, they've now won the last 3 rounds in a row. We have another match pause coming in. Maybe this is Mousesports taking on the slow down FaZe, because they're off to a roar now, right? I mean, they're getting some big individual plays. Win a couple of rounds. That round was, pretty clean from everyone. Despite kind of a weird B tunnels push that didn't pan out, they evened it up pretty quickly, and then eventually took the advantage. So, in a game that was looking like a wash, where Mousesports was just going to walk away with it, FaZe now all of a sudden posing a threat.
Yeah, that's 3 rounds in a row now, and Mousesports is starting to dip into their money bags. He's still got Christian 9.8k, Speedy 5.3. Nico and Dennis could afford if a drop comes through. So I think we could see another buy coming up for Mousesports. But yeah, as you say, maybe this is just to take some of that momentum, some of the wind out the sails of FaZe, who have looked revitalized. And I mentioned at the time, this round I'm just highlighting now, round 9. If you just joined us, Kirishima pulled off a crazy clutch ace. And it was an eco, and he had no Kevlar. So this... unbelievable.
That seems
play.
to have been the catalyst of this comeback.
Yeah.
It was a big play like that, just kind of giving him a little bit of fuel in the tank, so to speak. I think I like halfway sold out for them on one of their sponsors or something like that when I said fuel. So that's next level right there. In fact,
I actually didn't even catch that at the time. So that's how next level it was.
Yeah,
totally over my head.
Real deep, layers deep, and just like Inception selling out. Basically, here is. Mousesports are starting to go ahead and start making their purchases. You do see Chris J getting an AK in his utility set, same as Speedy. Oscar beginning to make his purchases as well. So it seems like they are going to try to throw something together here. But FaZe is finally going to catch Mousesports in a round where they don't have as much to work with as they have in the past. They have a little bit less utility on a couple of players. Oscar did get dropped in op, so that certainly helps out a lot. We're going to see FaZe change things up too. They're going to defend mid B with the player boosted in CT spawn. And Mousesports has been abusing mid quite a lot throughout this game, so maybe that's going to be a change that Mousesports doesn't expect coming, and it could catch them off guard, but they may not even go middle. Look at how heavy they're stacked in upper tunnels. They may just try to push through brute force style.
2 players on B this round for FaZe, so they do have a pretty decent arsenal at their disposal to repel this potential B play. But yeah, something different for FaZe. After the pause, maybe throwing in a different tactic is always a pretty solid idea to try and catch the enemy off guard. But you can see Mousesports, who were originally maybe setting up for a B play and now going through into lower tunnels. This still very possible they could wrap themselves back round to B. There's so much time left in the round. Doesn't really give us any indication of what's going to come up here. But, the longer this round goes on and the more likely mid take comes to fruition, that's where Rain's position could be absolutely catastrophic for Mousesports. They may not expect it.
Especially with AZ being able to have a crossfire with him and just letting Kirishima focus on B tunnel. So if they try to run mid B, FaZe are actually well set up. The only thing that can go wrong is if Rain gets spammed, if they actually check that spot, or if AZ just pushes B tunnels by himself like that again and gets caught. I mean, you have a perfect mid B setup, and he just kind of threw it away.
Yeah, but now here comes Rain. He's got the silenced M4, so he's going to run out of bullets. Here comes the pop flash. Gives him a little bit more time. You can see what he was going for. But it doesn't work out for him, and FaZe have just been traded completely off the map. And now it's all on Alu. Is he going to be the god? No. He's going to get wrecked by Oscar. And Oscar now moves on to 11 for 3. The pause seems to have came and been very much a success for the terrorists.
Kind of surprised to see a B tunnels push like that when you have such a good mid B setup going on. You have one guy focusing tunnels, you have a crossfire at middle, you have 2 players playing over towards the A bomb site. I'm not sure if they got a little bit worried that maybe it was like a huge long A control and they wanted to make sure B was clear. Either way, they just kind of fed into Mousesports. Like, they actually would have had a good defensive Mousesports runs that execute, and FaZe never pushes B tunnels, but they do, and they just kind of throw away their positional advantage, I feel like. And now they're stuck on saving.
Not for the first time either. And it's AZ who's been getting caught a lot. And he is bottom fragging at 3 for 11, so maybe some pressure coming down on him. He's almost feeling like he's needing to force the plays. Mousesports have been fairly slow on their T side, so it could be him getting a bit antsy. And trying to force plays where really there is no play to be made. AZ down with the pistols makes a lot more sense with the 5-7. Playing the close angle, hoping for the best. But Mousesports reading the situation to perfection. Just tunnel their way out of A.
Yep.
And now going through long. And they could meet Jacob, but he's got a P250. And meanwhile, Alu gets picked off. That was their one power play into this round. And if AZ pulls back to pick up the AWP, he could be next in the chopping block. But Kiyoshima gets it from B. So keeping the AWP in play. Here comes the pop flash. Right into the eyes of Oscar, who gets picked off. That is perfect timing. Kiyoshima was through the smoke. I didn't quite catch it.
It was a little bit of vision over the smoke, so we could just barely glance someone crossing long. So, yeah.
Okay. Still a sick shot, all things considered. The bomb has been planted. Jacob, who was hiding, waiting for the right moment to strike, has done just that. But now it's all on Kiyoshima, who's looking for his second clutch. Can he come up massive again for FaZe? Deagle in hand. He landed 3 one-taps in that clutch. No ones today. Speedy playing this one pretty solidly. Hasn't landed any shots though. And finally, we'll get his man. As Kiyoshima bites the dust, and now it's going to be Mousesports who take a 9-4 lead, and FaZe's economy is back into the dumps once more.
Yeah, they had their economy reset. They did elect to kind of force up upgrade pistol armor in the previous round to try to make something happen, which means if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they could have actually mustered up some type of buy this round. So that does hurt them a little bit here, just trying to game on the last round. Now they're just all going to push middle. It's just going to be like shooting ducks right now. Oscar playing duck hunt for middle with Chris J. I'm not sure what that was hoping to accomplish.
That play was so mental that it completely screwed up GoTV.
Of all the eco rounds you could pull off, I'm not sure that's the one you would go to. Are they playing strat roulette?
Just go mid when we know they've got AWPs.
Yeah.
It was so mental that my GoTV was like, what's that third person? Get wrecked. I think we missed a great deal, just a bloodbath really.
I don't know how you analyze that one. I don't think you can.
Strat roulette, I think you pretty much summed it up.
I think I may have, yeah, maybe so.
Okay, last round of the half. Season mag 7.
Interesting. Chris J throwing an op up there.
Yeah, last round.
Sure no one can get it.
Yeah, indeed. Gonna be making sure the CTs don't get their hands on it. They still have 2 AWPs in play anyway. They picked up a bunch of them to start off the round.
Classic last round T side type of stuff. Didn't get any damage off of it, but no harm, no foul, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely worth the investment. You've got no reason to hold on to the dollars. And meanwhile, Mousesports will be charging through mid once again. We've seen this play before, and it's going to be Rain once again who's on the boxes. They have seen this strat before, however, so you better believe that Mousesports will be expecting this. But Rain's playing a lot more passively this time around. He's not actually going to be peeking out. And there's the Molotov just behind him. It's not going to spread far enough, so Rain can stay in position. The smoke as well will extinguish the molly, but now Rain is going to try and use his position to its utmost advantage. There's the first frag, looking for the second one. Can't quite get it, but he stays alive, and the damage has been done surely in this round. Nico and Oscar, the 2-star players, 2 of the best players in the entire world, have a horrible task ahead of them. And now it's all down to Oscar with 20 seconds. No reason to save, of course. So he's going to be going for broke into this round. 5 angry CTs to try and fend off against, however. And it's not going to happen. FaZe will get the final round of the half, but they only end with half the rounds that Mousesports take through onto their CT side.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a weird half. You would see like these cool spurts out of FaZe where they would make a huge individual play, like, you know, Kiyoshima's ace or the hat trick that Alu had in the following round. But then there was also a lot of weird things happening, like AZ pushing through tunnels a couple of times and throwing rounds away, seemingly. Also, just the fact that we talked about Mousesports having a lot of key battles that they win at middle against Alu. You know, either he getting out up or Nico being able to push into CT spawn and split A from there. Just different things that happened at middle early in the half really set, you know, Mousesports up, and they also got an economy reset on FaZe a couple of times in the half, which also is going to hurt, right? When you finally get around, but you're not able to combo another one, certainly hurts. And I've been seeing a lot of people in chat type exclamation point casters. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's, of course, Metis. I'm sure you recognize his voice. I'm Dust. people may not know me as much because I do a lot of NA stuff, not EU. So just helping out today. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there because I saw a lot of people asking.
Indeed. I feel like it's either because people want to blame us, or they're
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You don't really know where they're going with that. But I'll give you the ammunition anyhow. You fire the gun how you want.
Oh man, I actually want to go back. I'm sure that Kiyoshima play must be on Reddit at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna go back and watch that. I think at some point, maybe in between the maps, if it's a bit of downtime. Because that was nuts. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check out Reddit. I'm sure it'll be up there. Kiyoshima Aces. What was it, by the way? Was it a 1v4 clutch as well?
What have I done, Metis? Now chat is just nothing but exclamation point casters.
This is why you don't feed them, mate.
Just gotta feed the trolls every now and then. You gotta throw them a little bit of something. This isn't a zoo, Metis. They can eat. You know what I mean?
This is what happens when they eat.
Yeah, that's fine. All publicity is good publicity, right?
Here come the NA caster chance as well. Brilliant.
Oh, of course. Brilliant.
Why not?
That's actually the funniest nickname that you have, is that you're NA Anders.
Yeah.
Even though you live in England.
Totally British, of course. Totally not American. But
wait, is there like some way that Newcastle it can be abbreviated NA somehow? Is that like a thing?
Nah.
There's an N and an A in that word.
It's NCL, like, for airports and stuff, I guess. It's because the whole thing of NA is it's like a lesser version of something else, right? So.
Yeah, of course. I was just trying to see if I couldn't weasel my way into making you feel better about it.
So who would Dust be the NA version of? Guys,
it's just NA
chat.
Dust. I'm just Dust. I'm
just,
already
just
in
NA
NA.
Dust. Yeah, I know, but like, who would be the budget?
I think maybe I'm like Budget Yanko, I guess. We have a very similar analyst desk style, I think. We both like to talk about tactics and strategy on the analyst desk, so I would say maybe I'm a Budget Yanko. Like super Budget Yanko, though. He actually played professionally and such before he started doing analysis work, and I never hit that level.
He played recently as well, didn't he?
Hey, he stood in for his old team.
Right.
For some type of qualifier or tournament or something, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
he also
mentioned Yanko.
played in this...
Get the resident sleepers in chat, of course.
Of course.
Why not? Second half anyway, Dust. And, well, actually this time we saw FaZe pick up 0 utility when they were on the CT side, but Mousesports picked up a whole bunch. They got Diffuse Kit, Smoke, a couple flashes, HE, and FaZe on their side do have a fair bit of utility as well, so be curious to see how this round unfolds. Look at how cheeky Mousesports are being. Nico's just hiding in the smoke. And here comes the play now. They're going to be pushing up Nico. No one's expecting this. They're lining up for Nico. He's going to smash them down with Oscar. Nobody checks the smoke, and it's going to cost them this pistol round.
To be fair, though, Metis, how often have you ever seen that actually play out like that? That someone just does that?
Definitely.
The stones, just to stand there in the smoke and let them
I'm surprised they didn't see like the bulge of his balls just sticking through the smoke. Because they must be massive. He's got cannonballs.
I mean, it must have been, you know, full mass.
Just saying, Nico, you're a scary dude. And Mousesports take 11-5, and I'm still in awe.
Did we really just have that long of a conversation about Nico's private areas? That's why we're on the B stream, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like ESL After Dark.
Oh my goodness.
A seedy back room.
Fired for sure, clearly. First time casting for ESL ever, clearly fired immediately.
Caparos.
Didn't even get through the first map.
FaZe, so we'll be looking to bounce back, but a couple of big plays, I've got to say, on this map already. It hasn't necessarily been the closest map of Counter-Strike, but we've had a couple of highlight moments, I'd definitely say, Dust.
Oh yeah, definitely some cool plays. It's actually funny that Mousesports probably, FaZe has more of the highlight moments, even though they're getting wrecked. Even though there was that cool op shot by Oscar through mid doors early in the game, that was kind of a highlight reel, I would say.
Hey,
but
Mousesports, how accurate he is with those stuffs. Like, he does it so often as well.
Yeah.
Let's funnel our way up onto the catwalk. It's going to be Oscar, the man that we were just talking about, that gets nailed in the head. The bullet between the eyes. Oscar drops down due to the Tech 9, but Speedy is going to answer back. Meanwhile, Dennis is going to put down the hurt from Xbox. Bomb's been planted, so FaZe have ticked off that checklist at least and accomplished one mission, but the next one is to try and clutch this round, and it's looking less and less likely as Chris J misses out on an opportunity. Rain down to 12, and Jacob on 100 as the fake comes through. Jacob maybe tapping his way, but this bomb's surely going to get defused now. Yeah, Speedy's holding on to it. 12 to 5 to scoreline, but these FaZe do hold on to a couple of Kevlars and an MP9, so it could have been worse.
Yeah, certainly. They also get a bomb plant, which gives them a little bit more money going forward. Choose how they want to use it. I would think they would remain pretty conservative here. They were able to save over quite a few armors, a couple of Tech 9s, and even an SMG, so they can really just kind of, you know, play a similar type of just really low buy. You know, still give yourself a fighting chance to perhaps get a bomb plant or get a couple of kills, but definitely, you know, saving the dollars up for your first buy in the next round, because you have to go on a big streak. I mean, Mousesports will only be 3 away from the W on this map if, you know... So you gotta just keep your money ready for that, basically, as we do see FaZe setting up at middle. Jacob throwing a little bit of a flash here. Maybe he's gonna take a little bit of a check here. Nico in kind of an unorthodox position, but Dennis is gonna be the one to do the job, and so it's already a 5-on-4 in favor of Mouse.
Yeah, as you say, just looking for the opportunistic push through mids, hoping for the best. We did see Oscar get wrecked by a Tech 9 earlier, just on the drive-by, so FaZe looking to try and rinse and repeat. We are gonna see the boost come up here. To be AZ, who's going to be going for it himself. Let's look on board from his perspective. Jumps in with the deagle and, well, down he goes. Nothing going to be going the way of FaZe this round, it would seem. A bomb plant would be massive, and the headshot has came in, so that very well could sum up the bomb plant. And in the meanwhile, Dust, this has now become possible again. A 3-on-2, but Oscar's low, and the bomb is planted, so... Now Mousesports have to get themselves onto the site, and Rain has an M4 and he's used that. He's also got Kevlar, so he's going to be coming through with a flashbang. That's the headshot. Nearly takes out Chris J outright. And now the CTs just have to pull together and somehow try and get this round clutched. And Rain's gone for another frag. He could very well clutch this one, but there's Chris J. He will finish it off with the FAMAS, and he just about has enough time for the defuse. Heartbreaking for FaZe, but they did so much damage in that round.
Yeah, they certainly are going to be limiting Mousesports' economy, right? You're forcing out rebuys a little bit earlier than you would like to if you're Mousesports in a play like that, which can help them in the long run, right? You're able to finally string together a couple of rounds. Maybe that means you can get Mousesports to save a little bit earlier in the half than they normally would have been able to, as they have to buy down here and now pretty low, with the first loss, you know, looming if in fact FaZe can get this opening gun round. So that's actually big time stuff for FaZe, as they need a lot to get back into this game. They're well behind, and so they certainly need this round. This is the big one. This is their chance. Alu gonna step out for a long A pick. They both exchange shots. They both go down. To 17 for Oscar, 30 for Alu. Not sure if that was through the door or a leg shot or a combination of the two, but kind of crazy that both hit a shot that was just off of being a kill, but enough to do with substantial damage. As we do see FaZe actually going to control the catwalk now as well. No one really contesting it directly. Oscar way back on A ramp, and he could easily get naded down. So A, it's looking really vulnerable right now for Mousesports.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Oscar's the kind of guy that can use that 17 health, though, and make each and every one of them count. So we'll have to see if that is going to be Oscar falling down. They've pretty much given up A, so it's likely to be a retake situation in effect. Oh, Rain. Sexy one-tap. Speedy is dead and buried. Good start for FaZe with the bomb plant. And this is exactly what they were looking to do. As you mentioned before, Mousesports, after that second half pistol, were just a couple steps away from the finish line. Rain with another one, but now here comes Nico. Here comes the retaliation from the CTs. Kiyashima, in the meanwhile, from Catwalk, though, is going to lay down the paint. Jacob as well, and that leaves Dennis in a 1-on-3. First frag goes his way, but his position's been compromised, as has his life. FaZe do pick up a 6th.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Mousesports were just kind of out of position because they were really focused on middle. You could see a lot of their emphasis was crossfiring the mid doors, and not only that, but Oscar didn't really have enough HP to contest the cat cross. He was forced us to fall back in the pit and give up a bomb plant where FaZe could certainly just plant for cat and just play numbers from that point forward. So it's kind of a situation where FaZe did a lot of damage and just kind of hit a perfect timing on how Mousesports was positioned. So really well played out, and now we can talk about that damage they did a couple of rounds ago, forcing Mousesports immediately onto this Deagles and armor, and Rain's already catching Oscar, getting aggressive at long A. Will Speedy have the same fate?
Nearly does. Not quite landing on the head, but very close, has to be said. Meanwhile, Dennis goes looking for some prey, but he becomes the hunted. And what's interesting to me as well, when you look at the kill dispersal on the side of Mousesports, there's only 3 kills between the top and bottom fragger. Everybody with over 10 kills. Everybody's pulling their weight. As Nico lands the 1D, Jacob will go down. He wants to get his hands on the AK-47. Oh, Alu gets caught. with his sidearm out and gets picked off. Nico's got 2, and he's also got the AK-47. And although his teammate is extremely low, Nico's on an absolute tear, lands another headshot, and a third as well. Nico with 4 kills in the round, holding it down on Catwalk, and just when he thought FaZe was starting to get some momentum, he's been taken away.
Yeah, that was a big play from Nico. No doubt about it. It's a quad kill for him, so now he's been able to pull up a big play. We've seen a couple highlight reel big plays from Alu and Kiyoshima in the first half, but now Nico gets one. That's why he's so dangerous. I mean, that's the round where FaZe thinks, okay, we're finally building something. We've got a round win. We forced Mousesports to take a save. This is where we can start, you know, stringing some rounds together, give ourselves a chance to get in striking distance, and then Nico blows up and resets your own economy back and puts them right around the corner from a map point situation. And how FaZe, they're just in dire straits at this point in this map. I feel like that's kind of, one of the final nails in the coffin for them here on Dust2.
Well, it's very hard to see how they come back from this. I mean, they have to go forcing into this round. It's going to be only 1 AK and a Galil and 3 Digs. I mean, it's enough on Dust2 to get something done, but absolutely, I think, you know, 13-6, if they had broken the economy Mousesports, that was their ticket back into this game, and their legs have just been taken from underneath them, they've been swept aside. Now, Mousesports, if they just play this one solid, you expect them to clutch this round out, and then the next one. I mean, if they take this, they'll have 9 map points, and it's very hard to see how a terrorist side on Dust2 can get that done. Nico, who was the god of the last round, becomes the scrub of this one as he goes down to the hands of Rain. AZ is getting himself a frag as well, but there's Oscar. The spray down from Chris J. We were talking before about how his rifling not quite on par with his orbing, but man, that was decent work. Double frag for him. The bomb can get planted just underneath his nose on B, and he's going to wait for the cavalry to arrive. A 3-on-2. They have 2 flashbangs and a kit, so Mousesports have more than enough to get this done, as one of the flashes lands in the eyes of Kiyoshima. Slow Swarm descends on him, looking to try and wrap himself round and land the double fire. Meanwhile, Alu comes in, but he will get knocked down instantly. And there we go. We have reached that point of 9 map points for Mousesports.
Yeah, they're going to have plenty of chances to shut the door on this game. FaZe do get a bomb plant, but even with that, they just don't have much to work with. It's going to be up to the Tech-9s. 1 Galil coming out for Kiyoshima. Ali with the late Galil purchase as well, but you can see they're certainly scraping at the bottom of the barrel to be able to put something together here. Mousesports, in the meantime, as you noted, having a rare occurrence where it seems like they're firing on all cylinders and all 5 players are having a good game. Just really proper form for Mousesports now, and Oscar already delivering some of the final blows here at Long A. That's Kiyoshima and AZ both down already. Long A controlled, denied, and so now FaZe have to play into a 3v5 with low firepower. This is not looking good.
Yeah, we're at that point now. We're expecting the ref to step in this fight and just call it a day. The TKO is in effect. Mousesports in prime position to strike. Nico just above the smoke will land the spray down onto Jacob, and Speedy with the last one. So ends with a bit of a whimper, but I think honestly the scoreline does paint a pretty solid picture of what we just witnessed there, Dust. That was very one-sided. There's a couple of glimpses of brilliance from FaZe. Kiyoshima's ace, of course, is up there, but ultimately there was just too much firepower to contend with on Dust2.